See, that way. Hey, Omar, how are you? I'm still getting used to this YouTube thing. I'm used to TikTok where you go live and then you end it and then it's over, but I forgot on YouTube they actually record it and people watch it later. I totally forgot all about that. So, yeah, this is a little new for me. Trying to figure out how to do this with the window and everything. Good. So, police state, huh? Is there any difference between the KKK and the MAGA movement? Because I'm not really seeing a difference right now. It's a serious question. Tell me the difference. Let's look at who they're demonizing, okay? They want immigrants here legally. Okay, great. But they voted for a convicted felon and a rapist, an insurrectionist, tax fraud. Somehow, if you're white, you get a pass. But if you're an immigrant and you've been here for 30 or 40 years, you go to their schools, their synagogues, you zip tie them, you make them drink out of toilets, and you treat them like they're animals in a dog shelter. Tell me how that's okay. Why is it that the white man gets a pass? Why is it on January 6th, 1,500 people, many of which pleaded guilty to felonies? The majority of them were U.S. citizens, white men. They get pardoned by a convicted felon and a rapist. But yeah, the immigrants are the problem. I just want them here legally. And when they go through the legal process, what do? They tell the judges to dismiss their cases or to delay them. And then they leave the courtroom and then they arrest them. It's never about doing it the right way. It was never about that, ever. And look at the cities he's going after. You have DC, Chicago, Oakland. All mayors are black. That's not a coincidence. He is intimidated by them. He's a racist. He's a white supremacist. He's the Klan leader of the MAGA movement. And this is what I talked about in my video earlier today. Too many MAGA got triggered by Barack Obama, a black man, being in the White House instead of being out in their fields picking their cotton. And they saw their nuclear family, their traditional family values going away. That iconic photo of a white kid with a white cop in a white ice cream shop being served by a white server. That's what they see going away. That's what scares the hell out of them. Look at who they demonize. Who do they target? CRT, DEI, trans people, immigrants, banning Muslims from coming here. Hey, guys, but if you're a white man and you're a rapist, you get to be president. Praise Jesus, right? Yeah, such a Christian nation it's been. It's interesting. When I started doing TikToks 2 years ago, I started it because of white Christian nationalism, and I don't think people truly understand what that means. They will weaponize religion to push their white supremacy. If you have an honest conversation with what this country has been, it's been white supremacy, right? It was designed by racist, white supremacist founding fathers that designed this country to benefit 21-year-old landowning white men. Even if you go into 1865, Justice Tate said, a Supreme Court justice, almost 100 years after the Constitution was written, said that black people were not considered citizens of the United States, even though they were second and third and some of them fourth generation. Let that sink in. What kind of a Christian nation doesn't let black people sit in a church? So white people can praise God in a church, but black people can't? So we're a Christian nation. We're all made in the image of God. We're supposed to love thy neighbor as thyself. And yet, because you were born with the skin a different color, you're not qualified to sit in a church with me, or have voting rights, or have a good paying job, or have your house appraised at the same price. That's a Christian nation? I don't want no part of it. And then you have Texas, right? They want to put the 10 Commandments in there. How many atrocities, how many young men have been molested in the Catholic Church over the last 150 years? Hundreds of thousands by the church. Did the Catholic Church not have the 10 Commandments in their church? Oh, did the 10 Commandments stop them from abusing young men? No, of course not. Because it's just a piece of paper. Doesn't matter if you don't follow it. I'm just disappointed by how many creators refuse to talk about this issue. And I don't understand if they don't think it's going to monetize them, if it's not going to bring them ad revenue, if they're afraid of losing subs. I don't understand why the Democrats don't want to talk about it. I just don't understand it. And if anybody can explain it to me, I don't get it. I don't. And there's too many people that look like me that are being lazy right now. We're still hiding in our privilege, right? We're seeing what's happening. People are being kidnapped, being put in concentration camps, being shipped out to different countries. And we're kind of like, well, it's not my problem. I have a job. I'm not going to risk my security for anybody else. That's a shame. It's the lack of empathy in this country that I think really breaks my heart. When you look at like a bee colony or an ant colony, they all work together. All of them. Do I sound like, oh, my dad? I don't speak with my dad. I don't think he did. My dad has done some pretty awful, horrible things that I probably shouldn't share on YouTube. Let's just say they're really dark. Think of the worst thing that could happen and then take it one step further. It's pretty bad. Pretty awful. I'll give you one example. And this is of his grandpa, because it'll tell you how he grew up and how he is. When his dad misbehaved, his father would put a chain around his neck and put him under the porch in Indiana for about 3 days. And he left him there. And if he came out, he would step on his fingers in the dirt. So if that gives you any idea of how my dad turned out, it wasn't much different than that. A lot of that filtered down to him. So let's put it that way. Yeah, so I don't know about my dad. Anyway, I didn't have the best upbringing, but I also believe it's a choice. I can choose to be like my dad, or I can choose not to be like my dad. And it's the same thing with racism. There's so many people that blame their parents or their upbringing for their racist upbringing that they take no responsibility for who they are. My dad made racist comments all the time about black people. The N-word, COON, all the time. That was my childhood. And I knew it was wrong, so I didn't do it. And then I even said there was one phrase I said, and my dad had made a comment about it was a Jewish slur. And I had no idea because I heard it. And I said it to somebody once, and she said, "What'd you say?" And I said it again. And he's like, "Well, you can't say that." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Why not?" "That's a slur." I'm like, "It is?" But I had heard it my entire life. It was part of my vocabulary. I didn't know any different, but I haven't ever said it since that day. But I chose to be different. These MAGA are choosing to be racist and white supremacists. Yeah, you got to break the cycle. It's a choice. There was a story I heard many years ago, and I wish I knew where it was. There was two brothers that grew up in a house. One brother was a really good husband, a good father, and had a great job, and the other brother was an alcoholic, and he used to beat his family all the time. And this reporter thought it was fascinating how these brothers grew up in the exact same house and turned out so completely different. So she went to the first brother. She goes, "How did you turn out so successful?" And he said, "My dad used to beat me, and he was an alcoholic." Went to the other brother. how did you turn out like this? He said, my dad was an alcoholic and he used to beat us all the time. So one brother used it as a stepping stone and the other one as a stumbling block. When I saw my dad, before he had his open heart surgery, because, you don't know if your dad's going to make it, I'm like, hey, he's still my dad, even though I don't like get along with the guy. He still blamed his dad. And I looked at him and I said, you are 67 years old. When are you going to be a man and act like an adult and stop blaming your dead dad that's 6 feet in the dirt for who you are today? How many years of your life are you going to blame your father? And there's too many people that keep blaming their childhood for who they are today. I had a crappy childhood, but I choose to be different than my dad. I choose to be different. It's a choice. It's a choice for these racist Trump supporters. And it breaks my heart is how many of these people sit in church and pretend to be something that they're not. These people that praise Jesus, they go to church with F. Joe Biden, Joe in the Hill bumper sticker. They own the libs. They voted for a rapist. They voted for a felon. They voted for a guy who cheats on his wife. He's on his third marriage, who has dinner with white supremacists, who asked for the execution of Central Park 5. This is the guy that Jesus sent down? Really? That's the guy. After hundreds and thousands of years, through Jim Crow, through slavery, through the genocide of Native Americans, through Andrew Jackson murdering Native Americans, through stealing the land from the Hawaiians, through the Holocaust, World War I, World War II, God just sat on his ass and says, nope, free will. Oh, but the rapist, oh yeah, I'm going to go spare his little orange ear. This is what people believe. This is how sick they are. It is a mental illness. They are sick people. And it's important to understand, they have never chosen Jesus. They have always chosen Barabbas. Always. Barabbas was an insurrectionist, a murderer, a convicted felon who gleefully laughed and jeered about murdering Christians. And MAGA chose Barabbas over Jesus back then, and they chose Barabbas again now. Because they view Jesus as a woke, soft, radical left snowflake, a socialist. Why? Because he has compassion and kindness and empathy and forgiveness. Do you see MAGA helping people in the streets, feeding them, asking them how they can make their lives better? Or do they treat them like garbage and throw them away? Really? Is that what Jesus would do? Hell no. Hell no. How do you say you hate the libs? I hate Taylor Swift, but then you love Jesus in the same sentence. You can't. You cannot live in both light and darkness, and that's what they want to do. There's nothing moral about them. Many of them are going to bunk with Jeffrey Epstein one day. They're not Christians. Faith without works is dead. They're white supremacists. And there's a difference between religion and faith. Have you had issues making guy friends in a predominantly conservative town? Oh, thank you, Jesse. Hate is the problem. Greed is a form of hate. Have you had issues making friends in a... I live in California, so there are conservative towns. Honestly, I don't even know what it means to... I was a Republican until 16, okay? What does it mean to be a conservative now, right? Rape's not a red line. Felonies isn't a red line. Beating officers isn't a red line. The death of multiple officers, Sitnik and the 3 that took their lives, isn't a red line. Permanent disability, missing eyes, missing fingers, isn't a red line. Sexually abusing Jean Carroll isn't a red line. Molesting 13-year-old Katie Johnson on Epstein Island isn't a red line. Saying you hate half the country isn't a red line. What does it mean to be a conservative? All it means is that I want white America. When I hear conservative now, there are conservatives and there's MAGA, but the majority of them want what MAGA wants. They're afraid that white America is going away, and they've weaponized religion, not faith, religion, to push it. Hi, Mike. Detaining 5-year-olds isn't... Yeah, there's no red line. They don't care. And the sad part is, no. I'm not saying conservatives. I'm just saying I don't know what that even means anymore. Or being a Republican. Maybe that's a more... I don't know what it means to be a Republican. because I think there's a lot of Republicans that are homeless right now. I'm an independent. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a conservative. I think both parties have failed the American people. The system itself is fundamentally broken. And yes, the Republicans, think about this. This is what the conservative party is, the Republican Party right now. They're defending releasing the Epstein files where people molested children. Think about this. This is the Republican Party, the conservative party, is protecting pedophiles. I don't care if my dad's on there, my grandma, my uncle, my aunt, my best friend. I don't give a damn. Release it. If they all did something, lock all their asses up. Build a prison just for them. Call it the Epstein prison. Put them under it. I don't care. I don't care who's on there. This is not a political thing. This isn't a partisan issue. But the Republicans are purposefully hiding it, and that's disgusting. What is Christian about that? Nothing. What does it mean to be a Democrat? I don't know what that means anymore. I'll be honest with you. I was a Democrat for a while. I left the party. Where's their spine? Like, where is their backbone? Gavin Newsom, my governor, I don't agree with him on everything. I'll tell you what. He's one of the few Democrats that's actually doing something right now. Where the hell is Hakeem Jeffries giving strongly worded speeches? Like, where is the Democratic Party? They're an absolute clown show. The United Daughters of the Confederate before. You know, I've heard about it. I have to research. I don't like to talk on things I don't know a lot about. But anybody that supports the Confederacy is a racist. They're a white supremacist. They were losers, just like the MAGA movement are losers. And that's all they'd like to do is win. And I would even argue that now this is a continuation of the Civil War, right? They lost. They were losers then. They're losers again. And they want black people working in their fields because they don't see them as equal. Hey, Texas. And they don't view women as equal. They just don't. They view women as baby makers. That's disgusting. I mean, Mary gave birth to God. That's pretty good. Mary Magdalene, Jesus literally cleaned her feet. The book of Ruth was written by a woman, so she can write a book in the Bible, give birth to God. Deborah was one of the first kings. But somehow women can't be president? That's the other part of it. It's the misogyny, right? 50% of our country are women. We've had, 46 presidents, because this dumpster fire was it twice. We never had a woman. Why is that? Misogyny. And for a lot of MAGA and a lot of insecure alpha males, not just being black, but being a black woman was just a bridge too far to broke their brains. They rejected Hillary Clinton. They rejected Kamala Harris. And they rejected Nikki Haley. They chose a rapist over Nikki Haley. Think about that. And it's a shame that this country and the news doesn't even talk about it at all. They're so distracted by the next shiny object because they want to monetize off of your outrage. Oh, look at this stupid thing he did. Oh, look, he talked about windmills. Oh, this dude when is the last time the news said, we have a convicted felon and a rapist sitting in the White House that caused an insurrection? You don't hear it anymore. They've all moved on. They've chosen, the media has failed this country miserably. They have all bent a knee to their dictator. They're all complicit in it. All of them are. I went to a mental hospital a couple of times to see a friend, and a majority believe Jesus saved them. Listen, I'm a person of faith. I happen to believe the Bible and Jesus, but here's the thing. I don't care who you love. It's your life. You live it the way you want. We all have free will. You have the free will to marry, don't marry, date, don't date, left, right, middle. You want to worship a grasshopper? It's your life. But evangelicals, the Pharisees, when you take away God's free will, you're no longer following Jesus. Did Jesus stop people from having abortions? Did Jesus come down and stop gay marriages? No. Free will. They don't want it. They want to control people. That's all Christian nationalism is control. Yeah, they're being kidnapped by people in masks. They're like brown shirts. This is very similar to Nazi Germany. I have no problem saying that. This is like Nazi Germany. We have concentration camps. I'll tell you the definition. Hold on, let me look it up. I don't know why people are so afraid to say this is like Nazi Germany. It's not different at all. A place where large numbers of people, especially political prisoners or members of persecuted minorities, are deliberately imprisoned in a relatively small area with inadequate facilities, sometimes to provide forced labor or wait mass execution. Is that not what's happening in Florida? We have people in masks detaining people because they're racially profiling them. They're assuming because they speak broken English or their skin isn't white that they're not from this country. Tell me that's not Nazi Germany. Come on. Let's see here. The Pharisees. Hold on. I got to get rid of this alpha male. Let's see here. Hide user from this channel. Bye-bye. Good luck with your Trump lucky sock. Hey, Lee. Yes. The rapist in chief is trying to be a tough guy. It was the alpha male was someone that left. When people are narcissists, people like the insecure white MAGA men, right? They think they're a tough guy because they own a gun or a whole bunch of them. It somehow makes them feel like a man, right? They have to eat a raw steak off a board. They have to go and hunt salmon in the river and catch them with their bare teeth, and they have to arm wrestle bears. It's this Fred Flintstone bullshit mentality where somehow that's a real man, or, oh, you smoke cigars and you, hey, bro. Like, I don't know what the hell that is. It's stupidity is what it is. It's not, it's this bromance thing. And they go into lives, and I ignore them because they're looking for attention. And they're like, oh, Trump's your daddy, cry harder, libs. They are emotionally immature. They don't know how to handle basic human emotions. They don't love themselves. They're sad. They're lonely. And their orange daddy, the rapist in chief, says, hey, little Timmy, it's not your fault that you have a shitty life, even though you vote for Republicans who take away all of your rights and give tax breaks to rich people. Blame the blue team. Oh, I understand. Your life sucks. Oh, thank you, daddy. And then they blame everybody else for their lives except for the person looking back in the mirror. You know how sad that these people are? Think about this just for a second. They go to a hard day's work. They work like 3 hours at, cleaning up garbage cans at Burger King. They come on here in their mom's basement. They make a fake name and they troll people on social media. Do you know how sad you have to be to do that? Truly, think about that. They're lonely, craving attention. It's who they are. They don't know how to be happy other than to tear people down. Yeah, sorry, Eli. I don't know how to. Yeah, there's people in this country that don't look like me that are getting treated like garbage just because they don't look like me, and that's disgusting. It was interesting. I had somebody cleaning my office today, and she speaks broken English, and I happen to speak Spanish. So my wife was asking me to translate, and she was asking. So something had happened the last time they were at the office, and they broke a garbage can. It was one of those little small ones in the bathroom that are like small, and it was like a $5 garbage can, and she felt so bad. She remembered, and she goes, "Oh, can I pay for your garbage can?" Like, think about this, okay? She doesn't make a lot of money, I'm assuming, right? She's a maid. She busts her butt. She works hard. She's super nice. And she still remembers breaking somebody's garbage can. And she felt bad and she wanted to pay for it out of her own pocket. And if a MAGA saw that, they wouldn't see a human being. They would see somebody that should be called ice on. That's how disgusting those people are. But if you're a white man and you're a rapist, you get to be president. That's what's wrong with part of this country. Hi, Debbie. Donald, it's obvious that the parents of his supporters did a terrible job at raising them. Yeah, I mean, listen, Donald doesn't love himself. He doesn't love his wife. He doesn't love his kids. He doesn't love his grandkids. He doesn't love his supporters. He doesn't know how to love. People that are narcissists only know one thing, it's how to tear people down, right? If you're happy, they don't know how to be happy. So they make fun of you. They put you down. They troll you. They make threats. They do anonymous messages. They troll chats like this, right? Cry harder, Lib. Trump's your daddy. You're welcome, Debbie. They don't know how to be happy. They just don't. They're devoid of basic human empathy and compassion because it didn't affect them. And that's what we're going to see at some point, right? They don't care about the immorality. All they cared about was money, money, money. Now, the people that voted for him, these alleged Christians, right? Praise Jesus. The people that say that you're supposed to build your wealth in heaven where moth and rust can't get to them, what do they vote on? I had more money. Whoa. Are you not supposed to give unto Caesar what is Caesar's? Is that not what we're supposed to do? But yet you value money over morality and decency. You're like, hey, I don't care if he's a rapist. I don't care if he's a felon. I don't care if he causes an insurrection. I don't care if he's on his third marriage. I don't care if he's molested 13-year-old Katie Johnson. As long as I have more of Caesar's money, I don't give a damn. Praise Jesus. Yeah, that's really Christ-like. Really Christ-like. Exactly what Jesus wants. Yeah, a lot of I can tell you why women voted for him, and I'm only telling this from experience. When you grow up in the white evangelical church, a lot of it is indoctrination. And they take scripture out of context, like abortion. It's not in there, okay? Or gay marriage or trans. There's no mention of trans in the Bible anywhere, right? And they say that a woman is supposed to be submissive to their husband. That's one scripture. Okay? The scripture also says that if a man shall lie with another man's wife, that is detestable, and both shall be put to death. They don't follow that, but they'll quote Leviticus that a man shall not lie with another man. But what happens is you create this culture in white America. A lot of it's rural, farmers, trailers, away from everyone else, where there's no diversity. And they're told that they are only there to serve their husband, to be submissive. Is almost as if there's a servant. They don't view themselves as equal to men, a lot of them. Does that make sense? So when you have that mentality, and it's not just you're told that, you believe it. You see it from your mom, you see it from your grandma, your aunts, your great-grandaunts. It's a generational thing. A lot of them don't have very high self-esteem. I don't even know if Christianity, I guess for a while I called myself a Christian, but here's the thing. The Bible never says to be a Christian. The Bible never mentions to be a Catholic or a Lutheran or a Pentecostal. Never says to have rosary beads. That's religion. The Bible says to have the faith of a child, to have the faith of a mustard seed, that if you did, you can move mountains. And I think what I want to make a video about is there is a difference between religion, which is what MAGA is. MAGA is not a political party. MAGA is a religion. The Second Amendment is their Bible. MAGA is their religion. And Donald Trump, the rapist in chief, is their deity, their God. That is their holy trinity. They only care about guns. They don't care how many kids get shot as long as they have their guns. America, America, yee-haw! 48 American flags. I'm a patriot. That's all they know because they've heard it from generation to generation. We're supposed to be people of faith. My church, we build beds for people. Kids that sleep on the floor, we build beds. We have 38, they call them tiny homes. It's called Goodness Village. You know what we do? We fund them through our congressman. It's about a 1.5-year program. We help them. We have a universal kitchen. They have a little bad. And then after a year and a half, they go on their own. They get a job, and we bring someone else in. See, that's what a church should be about. It's helping people. But to the MAGA, they view them as garbage that they can throw them away. They don't view homeless people as human beings. And that's the problem. Love thy neighbor as thyself. What if that was you on the street as a homeless person? I don't know your story. It could have been an abusive relationship. I saw a video today on TikTok where this lady was living in a hotel with her daughter because she was in a bad situation. But MAGA would judge that. I don't know her situation. Let's have a little bit of empathy. Let's act as if we were in that situation. Someone asked the difference between Catholic and Protestant and Lutheran. I don't know, Eli. I honestly don't care. I think there's so many religions, it's ridiculous. I mean, I happen to believe this all has a purpose, right? I don't think this just went bang and everything came. I happen to believe in Jesus. If you don't, you know what? I don't care. I love you just the same. I'm not here to judge. I believe this is with purpose, right? Our heartbeat, our blood, the seasons, the earth, the planets. I just don't believe that just happened by accident. But I also don't have the right to tell you that you're a bad person because you're gay or you're trans or you're lesbian. It's your life. If you're happy, then live your life. You know what's ironic? Some of the most kindest, most Christ-like people I know are atheist or agnostic because they have a moral compass. They don't judge people. They love people, who they are, and they accept them for who they are. That's what being a person of faith should be, in my opinion. Yeah, the Sabbath thing. Sorry about that, Narc. Yeah, the whole Sunday thing's a little weird. They cherry pick the Bible. I mean, technically, you're not supposed to eat shellfish or pork. You're not supposed to shave your beard. You're not supposed to have tattoos. You're supposed to sacrifice a goat once a year in the Holy of Holies. They don't do that. They cherry pick scripture that pushes their white supremacist agenda that keeps people in line. That's all they do. Exactly, Mike. And Mike, you might agree with me on this. A video I've been thinking about. Every 4 years, people say, "Are you better?" This is Republicans. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Now, I want you to think about that. Okay, let's say that I was better off. Hi, pretty. Okay, let's say I was better, and we'll go to what better off actually means, right? But my 10 other neighbors aren't. If I just vote for that person because I'm doing better off, how is that loving thy neighbor? It's not. It's loving thyself. And then, am I better off? What does that mean? Is it strictly, do I have more money? Is that a better quality of life? If I was to look at something like Germany, they have universal health care. They have family leave. They don't have unemployment like we do. They don't have homeless people like we do. They don't have gun violence like they do. They have a better quality of life. What we've done in this country is that we've swapped out capitalism, money, for a quality of life. So when someone says, "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?" they should just say, "Hey, if you have more money, vote for me." Because that's really what they mean. They don't care if you have a better quality of life. And the people that vote that way don't give a damn about their fellow neighbor. And that's what we're seeing right now. Going back to my thumbnail, if white people would have said, "Love thy neighbor as thyself," and actually acted like Jesus did, they would have stood with Rosa Parks or Harriet Tubman or Martin Luther King or John Lewis or Colin Kaepernick. But they didn't because they hid behind their white privilege. They only loved thyself, which is literally the opposite of what they said they're going to believe in. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Catholic Church, honestly. I just think it's a big male patriarchy full of a bunch of grumpy, old, crusty white guys. And let's be honest. What exactly has the Catholic Church done to young boys for 150 years? Over and over and over and over again. Look at the Baptist Church. For decades, they cover up sexual assault of women. Disgusting. Even now, every couple months, a new white man is abusing children in Baptist churches all over this country. It's never Democrats. It's always Republican evangelicals. That's why when they have these right-wing conferences, they're crashing Tinder or Grinder, or whatever the hell it's called, because they're all in the closet. They always do the opposite of what they claim to believe in. Thank you, Texas. There was, who was called the Great Schism, where the Eastern Orthodox Church broke away from the Catholic Church. Yeah, it's all religion. The Catholic Church, Catholicism, Christianity, Baptist, it's all religion. It's a bunch of people that read something and say, I believe 2 + 2 means 5. I believe 2 + 2 means 4. Well, the way I agree, it actually means 10. Like, it's so ridiculous. Just love thy neighbor, take care of people, care for each other, and live their lives. But all these different religions do, in my opinion, is that they just judge people. You're gay, you're a sinner. Oh, you're queer, you're a sinner. You're a bad person. But those same people have no problem voting for a rapist as long as he's a white man, or molesting 13-year-old Katie Johnson. Somehow that person gets a pass because all of a sudden we can't judge people. Yeah. I think Tim Tebow said something to the effect about who the biggest abusers of children are. They fit. Yeah, he's right. Almost exclusively, it's white men in Baptist churches, evangelical churches, Catholic churches. Look at the Christian Crusades. Almost even the KKK. It was run and founded by white men. They were sheriffs and people that were pastors in churches. That's a fact. The church was participating in the KKK. I've seen images of people hanging from trees, and there's hundreds of white people walking around in their Sunday outfits, like ho hum, having a great day. It's disgusting. We went backwards hundreds of years. Very sad. So, JM, I don't think we went backwards. So I would propose this. I heard somebody about a month ago was on a live on TikTok, and they said, what really saddens me is the progress that we lost since the 60s with the civil rights movement. And I asked her a question, and I'll ask you the same question, everybody. Was it progress or was it suppression? Based on what I'm saying, it was suppression. We put it behind a dam, and this Klan leader came and opened the dam and said, take off your white hoods, put on a red hat. Don't be afraid of being a racist anymore. Come out of the closet. That's what I think is happening. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Suppression means that we never actually dealt with white supremacy. We hid it away long enough. We pushed it in the closet. We closed the door, and we didn't address it. And that's why it's here. That's what happens when you go into your bathroom, right? And you don't clean something right, and it gets moldy over time. That's exactly what's happened. This has festered. And Barack Obama, in many ways, not his fault, gave us Donald Trump, the Klan leader, because they got triggered by a black man sitting in the White House instead of picking their cotton. And he goes, hey, your traditional family values is going away. Is this really what you want? Do you really want diversity? Do you really want women in power? Do you really want black people sitting in the White House? See, MAGA wants the inside of the White House to look like the outside. That's a fact. Do they have a lot of diversity in the Congress and the Senate? Look at the difference in the Democrats and the Republicans, or whatever the hell they're called, MAGA or whatever it is. There's no diversity. It's white America. Make America white again. That's exactly what it means. I saw a video saying about a USA politician leveling age consent. There was a video. Oh, what was it? There was a congressman. I don't know if it was a congressman or a state representative that had a friend that had done something at a really young age. And I think it was something about the consent. It was pretty gross. I haven't read it. I have to look it up. There is a community in the Appalachian Mountains. It's a whites-only community. They are afraid that America is no longer going to be a white majority. And they said, we're preserving our culture. Your culture? What's white culture? This was Native Americans' land. Then we stole black people. And then we stole Hawaiians' culture. All we've done is crap on people's culture. And we've turned it into our own. It could be Arkansas. I thought it was the Appalachian Mountains, but it could be. American is diverse, but part of this country doesn't want diversity. And that's what the MAGA movement is. They don't want diversity. When you see people on the street and they see anybody that's not white, they tell them that they in their heads, they're thinking, go back to your country. They don't view them as American. And if you look at the people that have been leadership, the founding fathers were all white. Almost every president was white. Most senators and congressmen have been white. When you look at business, it's almost all men. When you look at the Heritage Society, it's all white men, because white men have been in charge of almost everything since the inception of this country. And the founding fathers, who literally owned black people like property, are viewed as patriots. Right? They're heroes. They're great. There's a rapist in the White House, but he's white. So he's a hero. He's a patriot. He's going to be president. We can't vote for the black lady. Hey, if you're a white man and you beat officers on January 6th, hey, you get pardoned by the rapist in chief. You're a patriot. That's a fact. 93% of gun violence is committed by white men, U.S. citizens, ages 17 to 25. Toxic masculinity. Because they don't know how to control their emotions. They're angry and they're pissed off all the time. And then you get the whole Lincoln Riley bullshit. What happened to her was horrible. Here's the problem with it. There was over 40,000 people that lost their lives that year. Almost 43,000. Why is it they focused on that one? 93% of the crimes that year were committed by white men. U.S. citizens. 17 to 25. Why? Because she was an innocent white girl murdered by a brown, undocumented immigrant. Now you have bills named after her. You have her face on placards because it feeds into their white victimhood. It's a fact. And the right-wing propaganda has fed into it. They want to scare the white people into thinking their version of traditional family values is going away. That's why you have National Guard troops in LA and DC and then Chicago, and it's going to go on because this is 1984 Orwell. Just like V is for Vendetta. This is how you take over a democracy. Educated people know the truth. His base is not very smart. They're just not. They don't want them to be smart. They want to keep them uneducated so they could tell them whatever they want. Look, a month ago, 2 months ago, right? They were all celebrating Elon Musk, right? We're getting a $5,000 Doge check. What happened to those people? Where's your check? All of a sudden, they moved the goalpost, right? Oh, we're getting a healthcare plan in 2 weeks. That was 6 years ago. Do they care? No. Mexico is going to pay for the wall. Did they pay for the wall? No, they don't care. Has he finished the wall? No, they don't care. It just sounds good. It scares them, right? It's the brown people. It's the brown people that are taking away your version of white America. That's all it is. It's fear-mongering. And they get to use their white victim card because no one's called them out on it. Yeah, I heard about the whole thing in Florida. Florida's a dumpster fire. I mean, but the problem with Florida is there's a lot of rich people there that have a lot of money. And they don't care. All they care about is tax breaks. Morality, decency, doesn't matter to them. Own the libs, own the libs, own the libs. The radical left, George Soros, all the tin hat, that's all they care about. What check? There was supposed to be, Elon Musk promised his red hatters that there's going to be billions and trillions and zillions of dollars found of all this waste, fraud, and abuse. And you're all going to get refund checks. And there's videos. Look all over Instagram and TikTok. Oh, they're doing these dance videos. I'm getting my Doge check. I'm getting my refund. We're getting our money back. They get nothing. They don't care. There's a quote that says that, it was LBJ. What was the race quote? Where is it? Here it is. Okay, I'll read you this quote because this is really what it's about. Lyndon Johnson said this. If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, this is the quote. This is not my words. This is a quote. He won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, he'll give him someone to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you. That's what it is. They picked a bumbling idiot, a rapist, a felon, the guy that doesn't even, he's walking around on the White House because he's senile, because he's white. That's all this is. It's not complicated. And I don't understand why Democrats just don't say it. The news doesn't say it. The reporters don't say it. And part of it is that they're attention whores. And I said this about the Midas Touch and Brian Cohen and Jim Acosta. They want to have famous people on there that are well-known with large followings, and they make thumbnails with bright yellow letters and a catchy phrase. Oh my gosh, did he say this? Oh, can you believe it? Is this the end of Trump? It's all clickbait. It's all clickbait to cause you to have an emotional reaction. So you subscribe, like, and they cash in. They're against the oligarchy, right? They're against the oligarchy. Capitalism's bad, but like and subscribe and share. Yeah. They're doing the same thing. They're grifting off of the system. They could be having the conversation I'm having, and we could deal with white supremacy, but we have too many people that want to grift. Martin Luther King, my favorite quote that he said that a true leader is not a searcher of consensus, they are a molder of consensus. We have politicians and people in the media and broadcasts that tell you what you want to hear. They want the outrage, right? But people like me, I don't have a big following. That's okay. I don't care. But this is what needs to be. This is what leadership is. It's telling people what needs to happen. Now, I'm not against what they're doing, but what I'm saying is they're using their fake outrage to get money off of you instead of actually talking about the problem, because they know it's not sexy. It's not something that's going to get a lot of likes and views, so they ignore it. That's my problem with it. With great power comes great responsibility. Here's my quote right here. Hold on. There comes a time when silence is betrayal. The great Martin Luther King. So when I see these people with large platforms that are silent on the actual issue, they're complicit. I'm from California. Trump is not the problem. He's not. When you go to a beach and you look at a pier, does the pier float in the air, or is it supported by a bunch of pylons? Hundreds and hundreds of pylons. Those pylons is what keeps the pier up. The people that I just talked about that stay silent, they're supporting it. The news people, they're supporting it. The Republicans, they're supporting it. The MAGA, they're supporting it. The do-nothing Democrats that do nothing except send out strongly worded messages, they're supporting it. He is a symptom, people. He is a black light on this country. We thought that we had made progress as a society against white supremacy, and he said, nah, it's oppressed. Watch me open the dam. Watch how big it really is. And that's what we're seeing. We ignored it. We need 3 or 4 parties. But here's the honest truth. Now I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. And you ain't going to like it, but I'm going to tell you what has to happen. A French-style revolution, a general strike. The only thing that's going to fix it is not the Democrats, because they're not going to save us. They don't give a damn. What needs to happen? Look at France. Look at Turkey. Look at the Baltic states. Look at Ukraine during the Cold War. You stop paying taxes. You don't go to work. You protest every day. Teachers don't go to work. UPS doesn't go to work. FedEx doesn't go to work. Truck drivers, train drivers, farmers. You shut the whole system down. We don't have to do anything that we don't want to do. We choose to participate in this society. It's a choice. But too many of us aren't willing to be uncomfortable. We're not willing to do what's necessary to shut this country down. We don't want to be uncomfortable. That's just a fact. Too many people say, I can't afford to do a strike because I can't afford to lose my job. That's a choice. But I want you to think about this. What if Martin Luther King, that man was in solitary confinement. They put bombs on his porch while his wife and children were there. Thankfully, they didn't go off. Did you hear him bitch and whine about, I don't want to lose my job? When John Lewis was arrested, what was it, 24 times? And got almost beaten to death by just wanting to vote because he was black? Did you hear him bitch and whine? I didn't want to lose my job. I don't want to lose my job. No, you didn't. They did what was necessary because it was the right thing to do. But there's too many white privileged people that don't want to get off their ass and get out of their comfort zone and do what's necessary. And they make every damn excuse. They want to complain about the system. They'll watch Brian Cohen and Midas Touch and CNN and MSNBC, and they'll go watch George Takei and Luke Skywalker post all these ridiculous funny memes. Ha 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 ha. Look at all this. Oh, look at Taco. They'll do all that stupid shit, right? They'll protest every 2 months. But ask them to do something to be uncomfortable? No, can't do it. Nope, can't do it. We're choosing to let fascism win. It's a choice. You can't afford not to. If you think you can't afford to go on a strike now, wait in 6 months when the economy's in the toilet, when the dollar takes a dump, when the world stops using the US currency, and Moody's degrades it down to a B+, and then Canada and China and Japan have no more faith in the US dollar, and they cash in that $2 trillion in debt. Oh, but at least you own the libs, right? They're not very bright. They don't understand the long-term implications because they vote on emotions. Own the libs, white America, white America. That's where we are, people. That's what leadership is. It's telling people what needs to happen. Is it going to suck? Yeah, it's going to suck. Are people going to lose their jobs and maybe their houses? Yeah, probably. But politicians won't tell you what I'm telling you because they're not leaders. They will tell you bullshit like, oh, it's going to be okay, Karen, or Bob, or John. It's going to be fine. We'll take care of you. Just put us in power. Give me $10 and we'll fix it. No, it's not going to be okay. That's what they should be telling you because they're more worried about staying in power than helping us and fighting with us. You're right. You're going to lose more than your job if you continue on this path. Your 401k is going to go in the toilet. Watch my interview with Eric Swalwell. I think I posted it a month and a half ago. I said, Eric, will you join a general strike? Only if it helps register voters to vote for Democrats and help us win the midterms. I'm not kidding, people. Then I said, well, people have a very low approval rating of the Democrats. You did this. He's like, you're right. We're like Charlie Brown when Lucy kicks the football, when he flips in the air. He said, we should have reversed Citizens United. We should have increased minimum wage. We should have put in term limits. We should have taken out dark money. Well, then why the hell didn't you do it, Eric? Why didn't you do it when you had the power? If the Democrats would have codified Roe versus Wade when they had the supermajority under Obama, could the Supreme Court have overruled it? No, it would have been codified. That is on the Democrats in part because they left it open so they could run on the issue again and again and again. And the dog finally caught its tail. Now they're going to run on, oh, we're going to protect your right. No, you're not. You're not going to protect anything except your interest to stay in power. That's a fact, people. The Democrats owe part of Roe versus Wade. How much? I don't know. 50-50, 60-40? If they would have done their damn job, that would have never happened. And there's too many Democrats that are afraid to blame the Democrats. I don't know why. That's the blue MAGA. And that cancel culture turns a lot of people off. I was on Blue Sky last week, and I was called a racist because I criticized Hakeem Jeffries because he's black. I'm not kidding. I am dead serious. Is he not the minority leader of the Democratic Party? Who am I supposed to criticize if not the leader? Didn't Cory Booker vote for a convicted felon to be the ambassador to France? Why is that okay? How is that all right? He also voted for the crypto bill. So did Alex Padilla, one of my senators. That's not okay. Didn't Chuck Schumer vote for the CR? Why? The Democrats have crapped the bed. 127 Democrats voted against the impeachment. Tell me the Democrats aren't complicit in this. Nancy Pelosi's going nowhere. She's 82. She's going to get reelected. And but the thing is about Nancy Pelosi? I don't blame her. I blame the people that keep voting for Nancy Pelosi because they're enabling it. Those people are going to vote for Nancy Pelosi and then complain that she getting reelected. Why is she so old? Why did you vote for her? Vote for the young guy. Why did you vote for Schumer? Vote for the younger person. Look at the New York Democrats. 400,000 people. Think about this. 400,000 Democratic voters pulled a lever for Andrew Cuomo for mayor, who resigned his job because he sexually harassed 11 women. I want you to think about that. 400,000 Democratic voters ignored it while they're complaining about the guy in the White House. Nobody forced them to vote for Cuomo. Why did 400,000 people not see that as a red line? They're complicit in it too. There's the blue MAGA, just like the regular MAGA. They are 19 Senate Dems and names must be voted out. You guys are still missing the point, some of you. This isn't about voting out the Democrats, okay? If you have a car that has 500,000 miles on it, 3 flat tires, let's say it gets 3 miles to the gallon, and it leaks oil. The thing is basically junked out, right? Does that car matter if a Democrat or a Republican is operating it? It doesn't, does it? That's what this is. This is a broken down, busted up car. It does not serve the will of the people, period. And if we're still saying vote for the Dems in the midterms, you're missing the point. Respectfully, you're missing the point. Because you're going back to the lesser of two evils. There's people in concentration camps. I just want to think about this. There's people in concentration camps right now drinking out of the toilet. Handcuffed. Eating dinner off of paper plates with their hands behind their back on the floor. People are being kidnapped off the street by people in mass and unmarked cars. Due process is being taken away. We have a police state in D.C. And the Democrats, here's the Democrats' answer. Vote for us in the midterms in a year and a half. Think about that. That's the party that you think is the lesser of two evils? You're still missing the point. If you're still looking forward to the midterms, you're buying into what the Democratic Party is selling you. The system is broken. It doesn't work. The Democrats are just as complicit. Let me wrap up, and I'm going to leave you with this thought. What happened to George Floyd was an atrocity, okay? And I'm going to leave this metaphor because it's the best way I can explain it. Was Derek Chauvin more responsible, or the 3 officers that stood by and let it happen? Because I see the Republican Party as Derek Chauvin and the Democrats as the 3 officers that are watching it happen. The Democrats are doing nothing. How many Democrats are in D.C. right now? How many Democrats are in Washington, D.C., taking pictures, doing media, sleeping in tents, and protesting with the people there? I've seen none. Why not? Because they're at home asking for $10, giving strongly worded speeches, giving interviews on Stephen Colbert and Late Night and CNN and MSNBC. They don't care about you. I really need you guys to understand that they don't care. They don't. The lesser of two evils is not democracy, my friends. Is that how you would get married? Well, he's not really the best option, but you know what? He'll work. He's not as bad as Steve. I mean, that's what we're doing, people. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different result. And that's what we're doing. Oh, at least they're not the Republicans. They're just as bad. They just do it in a different way. They're screwing us in a different way. It's just a fact. And if Jill Stein was a serious person instead of a troll, she would be having these conversations with you right now. But she's nowhere to be found. She's a troll. She's a protest vote. She's not a serious person. She's just not. Newsom is the only one. Yeah, he's the only one. Pritzker a little bit, maybe Shapiro, AOC. And Money Move, that's the problem. Somebody made a comment that people only care about themselves, and that's right. When you look at a bee colony, okay? When something happens or threatens their colony, every single bee goes after the danger, the perceived danger, okay? In our society, we stay in our little honeycomb and we only look after ourselves. Ants do the same thing. When they need to work, when they bring food back, when there's an enemy, they all get together and they don't care what happens to them. They know that it's for the benefit of the hive. But Americans don't do that. Oh, what about me? What about my job? What about my mortgage? I have a mortgage. You have a mortgage. You have rent. Is that what we're going to say in 20 years? Grandma, why didn't you do anything? Well, I had bills to pay. Well, didn't everybody else? Yeah, but I had to look after myself. So screw the people in the concentration camps. Screw the people that are kidnapped. It didn't affect me. I had to look after myself. First, they came for the socialists, but I wasn't a socialist, so I didn't do anything. Then they came for the union workers, but I wasn't a union worker, and I didn't do anything. Then they came for the Jews, but I wasn't a Jew, so I didn't do anything. And then they came for the Democrats, and I wasn't a Democrat. And then nobody was left to help me. Because that's exactly the mentality where we are. That's where we are, people, whether we like to hear it or not. I don't know where the other governors are. I don't. I know Holcomb has stood up a little bit. I do not know what these governors are afraid of. I don't know what the Democrats are afraid of. I don't understand how piss poor that the Democrats are in lack of leadership. It is an absolute embarrassment. These Democrats should have an 80 and 90% approval rating. They're at 90%. Think about this. We've got a guy in the White House that's destroying the economy, who's siding with Vladimir Putin, who's a rapist, a convicted felon, who's taking away Medicaid from people. This is a layup. A 3-year-old would have a better approval rating. And the Democrats are at 19%. I want you to let that sink in. How utterly pathetic you have to be as a party to have a 19% approval rating. I could see Hakeem Jeffries like shooting a free throw and like missing the backboard. He's probably like throwing it in the stands into the bathroom. I mean, this is how pathetic they are, people. They're just as bad. It's really sad. It's really, really sad. The Republicans are gone, people. I can sit up here and criticize them for 8 hours. It doesn't matter. They don't care. The Democrats were supposed to be the party that was the resistance, and they're MIA. Cory Booker is talking about his football coach from college giving motivational speeches. I'm not even kidding. Go look it up on my page on TikTok. He's talking. It's so bad. The people that were getting paid $170,000 a year aren't even in DC protesting with the people. It's a shame. It's a shame. Yeah. All right, my friends. I'm going to go and call it a night. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen, how this is going to end. My gut tells me whatever's going to happen in DC, he's going to escalate it. I still cannot believe that my former party, the Republicans, have completely capitulated any kind of integrity, decency, morality. They've completely advocated their jobs because they're afraid of a couple of mean tweets from a guy that wears diapers and wears orange makeup. I cannot believe what has happened to that party. I voted for John McCain. I love John McCain. I could disagree on policy, but I want decency, integrity, kindness, compassion. When John McCain took that microphone away from that lady when she was bad-mouthing Barack Obama, and she goes, ma'am, we're not going to do this. He and I might disagree on policy, but he's a good man. That day, I voted for John McCain. That's when he earned my vote. And then Obama did a damn good job, and then I voted for Obama. And I thought Romney was a decent man. That was decency, integrity, common ground. This has turned into nastiness. The morality is completely gone, and I miss that. That's what our politics should be, were those kind of civil debates and conversations over policy. We're not even talking policy. We're renaming the Gulf of Mexico. Think about that. We're protecting pedophiles. That's where this country is. Anyway. All right, guys. I'll see you guys later. Have a good day. Good talking with everybody. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye. How do I end this? There we go. End.